Stop wasting time scrolling through endless clickbait, social media, and emails trying to keep up with the news. Instead, listen to all the news you need in just 10 minutes.
Welcome to The Newsworthy.
The Newsworthy podcast makes it faster, easier, and more enjoyable to get unbiased news on the go.
It helps us navigate the news without feeling overwhelmed.
Even when my time is limited.
So much detail and information in 10 minutes.
Listen now by searching The Newsworthy in your podcast app or go to thenewsworthy.com.
This episode is sponsored by One Welbeck.
Hello everybody, I'm Nicole Goodman.
And I'm Lauren Mishkon, and welcome to Self Care Club, where for the whole month of October we are talking about the menopause.
Why are you saying it like...
I'm bigging it up.
Yeah. It's
Like
you're about
it's a positive.
it is a positive.
It's a positive.
Well, what's the other side of it if you don't go through the menopause?
Death. Okay. It is World Menopause Day on October the 18th. And we are doing a month's worth of shows to raise awareness, share information and support. Because women who are experiencing menopause need good advice for health and well-being. And that is exactly what we're planning on doing. So over the next 4 weeks, we are interviewing some of the most inspiring and forward-thinking female doctors in gynecology and cardiology and talking about different and unexpected ways the menopause might affect you and your body.
So why is it important? A UK survey found that over 50% of women reported that menopause had negatively affected their lives. That is an astronomical number.
Half of all women.
That's a quarter of the population, basically. The impact was physical, mental, and affected their home life, sex life, and work.
It's basically everything.
Everything. 4 out of 10 of their partners also reported feeling impacted and helpless about how best to support them. Also, it isn't optional.
Nope.
Did you know that, Lauren?
I did know that,
It actually isn't optional. All women are going to go through it. And as with everything in life, forewarned is forearmed. Information is knowledge. And knowledge, my friends, is power.
Yeah.
So here we are, doing the work, bringing you the information that we all need.
Yeah, and deserve.
And can I just say, right, I am very much in perimenopause and I have been in this journey for about 18 months now, and talking to these amazing doctors that we have talked to this month that are coming up in the next few weeks, I have learnt so much. So it really, really is an important listen, and I promise you it's not dry or dull. It's just imperative and interesting, and it is there to give you all the information you need so you can have a smooth menopause.
A smooth transition.
Yeah.
The menopause was something barely talked about, but over the last 5 years, the topic has become much more prominent. There's also been a huge rise in the consumerism of menopause, with wellness and beauty companies selling everything menopause related. And I think it can be quite overwhelming.
It is overwhelming about what to do and what to buy and what you need and what you don't need. It's you know, everyone's jumping on the bandwagon.
Absolutely.
There are also lots of books, apps and social media groups which can lead people down a menopause rabbit hole. There is still the legacy of old trials and old information about the safety of HRT, which affects the choices that women make. That there is so much of that, and so many women that I speak to that do have all of this very old, quite bad information and education at hand.
It's just wrong.
It's just wrong.
So we are going to be tackling all of that.
And people don't like to be challenged on it because it's a very strong belief of theirs.
Yeah.
And actually, HRT, if you can take it, not everybody can, it can help you and empower you so very much that actually having that old, bad, wrong information can just limit you through your menopause years.
Yeah. So our plan over this month is to dispel these myths and ask a lot of questions that you maybe might feel a bit awkward about asking. And we really hope it's going to be helpful to all women, whether you're starting to go through it or you're right in the middle of it, or if you want to be prepared and informed in advance. So please do give this month of shows a listen and share the episodes with your friends or your partner or anyone who you feel could benefit from what our experts have to offer, because they've got a lot to say.
They really do. They really do. And they're very interesting women. So please do make sure you tune in. So let's just start with the basics, shall we?
Yeah.
Women have estrogen receptors on every cell in their bodies. They decline with age, along with progesterone and testosterone levels. And it's not always a steady linear decline, as I have absolutely experienced. Your cycles can vary, and as the cycle length changes, the hormone levels are rapidly cycling and swinging about, which can lead to a huge variety of symptoms.
Yeah. And there's no way of explicitly telling when perimenopause starts. There's no single typical sign. Not even twin sisters will share exactly the same symptoms. It's generally just diagnosed by your symptoms.
Yeah. And symptoms usually start months or up to 10 years before your periods stop. 10 years it can be. And they can be any time from late 30s to mid 40s. I'm going to say that again. It can start from any time from late 30s to mid 40s, because do you know, I'm 47 and I started HRT when I was 46. The amount of people, women, that said to me, no, you can't have got that right. You're very young. Again, it's just the information is just wrong. But actually, it was absolutely
bang in the middle, really.
Right, at the right time of when I should be starting it all. Not should be, but
it's normal.
Very classic.
Very normal.
The period of time while you are transitioning is called the perimenopause. And that's the bit that can be the 10 years.
Yes.
Right? The hormones fluctuate as the body stops being able to reproduce leading up to your last period.
Yeah. So the first sign is usually, but not always for everyone, a change to your menstrual cycle or to the nature of your periods if you have regular periods. But if you are on contraception...
But it's not always it's just a sign.
No. It's
a sign.
It's usually a sign. But it's not always.
But it's not always the first sign.
No.
But I do think that it can be a sign.
But it's quite an obvious one.
Well, it's one that you can't argue with.
Yes.
Right?
Yes.
And it's one that the doctors will say to you, well, are you still having a regular period? It's like the first question they will ask.
But it might also be the nature of your period. So they could suddenly get lighter, or they could suddenly get heavier, or you could start to have clots. They will change in nature. And if you are on the pill, or you've got a hormone coil or a contraceptive implant, it can be quite hard to track that, which is why some women might not notice. Some women experience very few symptoms, whereas others experience more than their fair share. And for some women, it may feel very obvious and affect their day-to-day life. And again, for others, it might be a really minor inconvenience. They don't notice that much and might not bother them. And symptoms can vary with time. So some women might find, for example, that their hot flushes and their night sweats improve, but then they develop other symptoms like low mood or anxiety or fatigue.
Oh, it's just a constant puzzle to piece together. And the minute you found one piece, you're looking for the next one.
Yeah.
Basically. Menopause itself is something that can only be diagnosed looking back. Interesting.
Yeah.
That is interesting. It is a specific moment in time, just a single day. It's the day 12 months after your last period.
Yeah.
So if you haven't had a period for 12 months, that means that day you are in menopause.
You are menopausal.
You are menopausal.
Yeah.
So once that has passed, you are then post-menopausal. The language around this, I think, is ridiculous.
But to break it down into three very easy things, every single thing from possibly your mid-30s running up to the day 12 months from the last time you had a period,
which is probably your early 50s,
is perimenopause.
Yes.
The one day 12 months since your last period is menopause, and every day after that until you die is your post-menopause.
But that's why I find it so interesting that people say, oh, I'm menopausal.
Yes, they're not. They're perimenopausal.
Yeah. I just think the language is wrong.
Yes.
I really do.
Yes.
And also we've heard many experts talk about this and they do agree. And that's where I've got that from, that the language is bad because it's confusing.
It is confusing. Yeah.
You can still have symptoms such as joint pain, vaginal dryness, which can carry on even after your periods stop. And the average age for this is 51. African American, Hispanic and Black women are likely to experience it around 8.5 months earlier. And this is very specific.
Yeah.
8.5 months.
Yes.
Very specific. 8 months and 2 weeks. And in India, the average age is just over 46. So it varies depending on your ethnicity.
Yes. There are many, many known symptoms of the perimenopause, and some that are anecdotal but not yet quite official, like frozen shoulder.
Well, it is official.
Well, no, it's not.
It's not on the list.
The gynecologist told me they are currently working on a document to have it put on the official list of symptoms. So it's anecdotally known, but not officially. So are you late 30s, around 40-ish years old? If so, please listen up and jot down if any of these apply to you, because we're going to go through the most common symptoms. And you may even think, oh my God, that could be perimenopause.
And can I just say, now looking back, as we just said before, now looking back, I can see in the years running up, or a couple of years running up to me going on the HRT, I can see the signs because I understood what my signs were. Mine was crippling anxiety, which I'd never had in my entire life.
Yeah.
Right. And so there were certain warning signs where I was getting very anxious or I'd have this sudden panic attack. I couldn't really understand what was going on. I now understand it was my perimenopause, like, hotting up.
Yeah.
So obviously now I get it. But back then I was just like,
what the fuck is wrong with me?
I honestly thought I was having a nervous breakdown.
Many women do.
So let's just start with mental health, shall we, now that we're on it? So the symptoms can be anxiety, which is what I had, feeling flat, which is what I had, no joy, which is what I had, panic, which is what I had, apathy, a sense of doom. I mean, there were some days I couldn't get out of bed. Catastrophizing, yep, but that also comes in with anxiety.
Yeah, of course.
Rage, oh my God, I had so much rage. Irritability, yup. Less resilience, yup. Crying, yup. And fatigue. I had all of those.
Very classic symptoms.
Yeah, but they're not classic in how we think of classic. We think of classic as
hot
night sweats and your periods stopping or missing periods.
Yeah.
But there's so many others.
Right, brain, waking in the night, insomnia, forgetting names, brain fog, difficulty focusing, forgetfulness, low libido, headaches or migraines, vertigo, dizziness, hot flashes and night sweats.
So that comes from the brain, does it?
That's all brain related, yeah.
Even the night sweats are brain related.
Yeah.
So let's talk about your metabolic health. It can be an increase in insulin resistance, cholesterol, your blood pressure could go up or go down or just go up. And you get that, that bit of fat around the middle of your belly.
Menobelly, I hear they call it. Charming.
Or middle-aged spread.
Either way, it's not much fun.
I am not down with that.
I'm not fucking down with that either.
I'm not
when
down
I
with
couldn't zip up my jumpsuit the other night. Anyway, musculoskeletal stuff like aches, muscle loss.
Yes, you've got this.
Frozen shoulder. Hello.
Yes.
Weakening bones. Yes. Muscle pain. Yes. Fibromyalgia. Not yet, but who knows?
Oh my God, my friend has just
I was just thinking that when I was putting this list together.
My friend has just been diagnosed with fibromyalgia.
Well, and I bet she's 46-ish.
She's my age.
There
She's 47 and she is in the perimenopause and she is on HRT.
Well, it's a symptom.
But interesting, because the symptoms of fibromyalgia and the symptoms of perimenopause are very similar.
Yes.
Because anyway, that's very interesting. But they said it was off the back of her having COVID.
Maybe. Could be both.
Wow. I mean, it's just the gift that keeps on giving.
It really is.
Because we've got more clubbers. Skin and hair. Itchy skin. Yup, I've had that. Crawling skin. I haven't had that.
Now, that sounds horrendous, but there are lots of women who report a sensation where it's like ants crawling under their skin.
Oh, that's absolutely dreadful.
It sounds so horrible, doesn't it?
My friend gets painful legs. It's very specific. She gets her skin on her legs gets very painful.
Like really sensitive.
Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah. Thinning hair.
Very
I've had a bit of
common.
that. Brittle nails and collagen loss. But the collagen loss comes with aging anyway.
Yeah, it does. So there is gut fun to be had. Bloating, loss of gut bacteria diversity and constipation. Fun times.
I have noticed a change. I'll leave it there.
Okay.
Because it's not nice. I've just blown my nose and now I'm talking about my gut. It's just,
Well, you're about to move on to genitourinary stuff, so that's even worse.
Irregular periods. Yes. Bladder weakness. Yes. Bladder urgency. Yes. UTIs, no. Vaginal dryness, no. I'm just not going to say yes to no anymore. It's just not necessary. Painful sex, bowel weakness, and weakened pelvic floor. I mean, by the way, clubbers, the list is still going on. And it doesn't mean that you're going to get all of these, but you might get some of these.
Or none. or a few or a handful or tons. Eyes, ears and mouth. You could get burning tongue. You could get phantom smells. That sounds really annoying.
But this is what I mean, why you think you're having a nervous breakdown.
That is why. So like I can smell stuff that isn't there.
Yeah.
You might have dental issues, problems with your teeth and gums. You might get dry mouth. You might get tinnitus. I've got tinnitus. That's a brand new thing for me. Yup.
I didn't know you had tinnitus.
I do. And you might
tell me.
I'm telling you now.
How can something so big happen to you and I not know?
Do you know what? It's really not that big a deal. It happens. From time to time, I get this very, very high-pitched Mariah Carey-esque ringing only in the left ear for a few minutes, then it goes. And I don't get this, but I hear this all the time. Itchy ears. Women who are like, oh my God, there's an itch deep in my ear. I can't scratch it.
Fuck's sake. And cardiovascular, heart palpitations, which you get.
I do.
And shortness of breath.
Yeah.
I don't get that.
This is just the common known stuff, but there's tons more. So when do you
Is there tons more?
Yeah, there is. So when do you need to see a doctor? Well, there isn't a right or wrong answer to this, but if you are having any symptoms that are impacting on your quality of life or affecting your personal or professional life, or you just don't feel yourself anymore, then please go.
Can I just say one thing I've really learned from talking to some of the doctors that we've got coming on? You don't need to suffer.
No.
And they don't want you to suffer.
No.
So please don't put it to the back and just be thinking about everybody else and you'll figure yourself out. Like, you do not need to be putting up with symptoms that are making you feel terrible. You just don't.
And you do not need to be embarrassed.
No.
Even if you feel you can't really talk about them, these doctors are dealing with this stuff every single day. You are not special, and nothing that you can tell them or show them will be something they have not seen or heard before.
Yeah.
So please don't let
Especially
that
the
hold
bottom
you
doctor.
back.
I really got that from her.
I
from
did
Sarah.
too.
Yeah.
And very importantly to say, if you are under 40 or you are between 40 and 45, then it is important that blood tests are carried out to diagnose perimenopause to rule out any other potential causes to changing in your bleeding.
Right, we have decided to kick our month off exploring the menopause with a good old-fashioned show and an experiment week.
Yeah.
We both went off to get our own health checks done with the menopause diagnostic package offered at One Wellbeing.
So they have got an advanced diagnostics pathway for anyone experiencing perimenopausal or menopausal symptoms or who are seeking a confirmed diagnosis, providing clarity and insights into any of the changes that you might be experiencing. The service is run by female consultants and it can help to identify any menopause-related conditions and ensure that you see the appropriate specialist. They have multi-speciality doctors in all areas of expertise under one roof.
They do. All areas.
Everywhere. Which means you have access to a diverse range of specialists to assist with any symptoms and complications. And it gives you this seamless and coordinated journey towards menopausal well-being.
And what I like is they all work together.
Yes.
So they all consult together and they'll all refer.
And share info.
And they share information.
Yeah.
They're like, I'm not sure if this is like a cardiovascular issue or it's a gynecological issue, and they chat about it. And so all the department heads are just there.
Yeah.
It's brilliant. Absolutely brilliant. One Wellbeck's comprehensive menopause diagnostics package provides clarity and it empowers you to manage this transition. So here's what you're going to get. You get expert consultation where you get to discuss your symptoms with a leading menopause consultant. You get diagnostic blood tests. It gains insights into your hormone levels with tests including a full blood count, biochemistry, this is to assess your kidney and liver function, estradiol, that's your estrogen hormone, FSH, that's your follicle stimulating hormone, your testosterone levels, your SHBG, which is your sex hormone binding globulin.
Globulin? I actually don't know what that one is. But anyway.
SHBG, you know the one.
They test it.
SHBG and your thyroid function tests.
Yeah.
You also get a detailed ultrasound. It analyses follicle counts and ovarian volume with a transvaginal scan, a TVS, and a comprehensive screening. It includes a CA125 test for ovarian cancer screening and a smear test with HPV screening. And all of this package costs £950.
Yeah. And you can also opt to have some add-ons at an additional cost. You can have a mammogram, which we both had.
We did. We've had all of this. We've had all of this done.
Breast ultrasound and a DEXA scan, which assesses bone density and your risk of osteoporosis. And we did that too.
We did all of it.
We did all of it.
The only thing we didn't do was the ultrasound.
The transvaginal scan, you mean?
Because I'd already had one in May. And to be honest with you, no one wants to have that done if they don't need to.
It's not a big deal. Can I just say, for anyone who hasn't had it, it's basically a camera they put
scan
in your vagina. It doesn't hurt.
It takes 10 minutes.
It's fine. It's not a big deal. But you'd had one, so you didn't need another one.
It's not a big deal. I'm just saying.
I just don't want anyone to feel frightened of having it.
You definitely don't need to feel frightened, but I also didn't need to have a second one 3 months later.
No, and I didn't have one because the gynecologist said if I feel there's anything that I would like looked at, I will send you for one. But she didn't feel that one was necessary, so I didn't have one either. But we had everything else.
And we were both up to date with our smears, so we didn't need those.
We were both up to date with our smears, and I had also had a mammogram at One Welbeck in January when we did the mammogram show, and you did have a mammogram.
I did have a mammogram, and we both had the DEXA scan. We had all of it.
All of it.
Apart from the ultrasound and the smear.
So how are you feeling going into all of this testing?
I've got to be honest, I was absolutely delighted to be offered this. I felt very grateful and very lucky that we got to trial out this package because not what a treat, but
what a privilege.
Thank you. That's the word. What a privilege. And you?
I felt the timing was impeccable for me, because I'm 46 and a half, and I was really interested to know.
And slightly in denial.
But also do have this frozen shoulder. Have had a slight change to my period since May. So I was really interested to know where I was in this journey and just basically get like a snapshot of what was happening for me.
Well, it's more than a snapshot. Well,
to know exactly where I am.
Yeah. It's not a snapshot.
Wise, it's a snapshot of right now, but it doesn't mean in 6 months it won't change, because it will.
Yeah. Just to say that I had done all of this a few months before, not at One Welbeck, but with my gynecologist, because this is before we had worked with One Welbeck.
Yes.
So I had been down this route before. I hadn't had the DEXA scan and I hadn't had a mammogram for 18 months. But it's always good to get your fresh bloods done. And I was very happy to have another doctor's eyes on it and just to see if they'd missed anything, which they hadn't really. So I just want to say that's where I was, because I'm very much in the perimenopause.
Do you want to say like what you do and where you are, and I don't know, what you take?
I'm a podcaster. I am sitting in the studio.
I meant hormone-wise.
So hormone-wise, I've been on HRT for a year and a half. I started in June 23.
Yeah.
And it's been a journey, hasn't it?
It has.
It's been a rocky one, hasn't it?
It's been informative for me.
And me.
Yeah.
It took a while for me to find the HRT that worked.
Yes.
So I just want to say, and I think I've said this on the show before, it's not a case of, or my experience was not a case of, oh, slap some gel on and you'll be fine. It's not like that. You have to find, just like everyone's symptoms are different, everyone's treatment is also different. And you respond differently to everything. So it's a process and you have to figure out what works for you and what you feel the best on. And that took me about a year, which, as I've learnt now after I've seen 3 doctors now. And I wouldn't have seen Elaine if we hadn't been gifted this. So I would have done my 2 doctors. Elaine actually told me that to get it sorted within a year is pretty quick.
This is Dr. Elaine Palmer, the consultant gynecologist obstetrician who we saw as our consultant.
Who you will be hearing from next week.
Yes.
Yeah. So you'll hear much more from her. Apparently it's quite quick to get your HRT very settled and balanced within a year of starting it. And I think that's really good and important to know, because I didn't know that.
I didn't know that. And also I didn't know things like, and if I didn't know, I imagine lots of people didn't know. I didn't know things like the patch came in different dosages.
It comes in different dosages and it comes in different brands.
Yeah.
Different sizes.
Yeah. This is all, you just think, oh, you just put a patch on and that's it. But it's not as simple as that.
No.
And also the gel, there are different numbers of pumps that you can put on.
Yes.
So it's not this very simple, like take 2 paracetamol and it's fine issue. It's a bit more complex.
No, it is really complicated because there's so many different treatments available. There's the gel. The main ones are the gel, the spray, and the patch.
And there's a pill.
And the pill, but a lot of certain women, if they have a history of breast cancer, they won't be prescribed the pill for whatever reason.
Yes.
And when Dame Leslie Regan comes on, she'll tell us much more about that. So there are a lot of options. So I guess I want to say when the first one might not work, it's okay because there's a lot of others. And as Dr. Elaine Palmer pointed out to me in the consultation, she said, whatever doesn't work, I've got 75 others at my fingertips. Please don't worry. But I didn't have that experience. I was told I was running out of options.
Yeah.
So I got very scared.
Yeah. Because you definitely got to a point where you were really not great when your HRT levels were not right. I mean, I would notice it on a day-to-day basis. It affected everything. It affected your mood, your personality, how you were. It's a big deal.
There were some days I couldn't get out of bed.
Yeah.
There was one weekend when they'd changed me from the gel to the spray. I couldn't get out of bed. I was so low and so depressed, and I was having thoughts in my head that I have never experienced in my life. And I had this crippling anxiety. I had social anxiety. I didn't want to go out the door. It was so not me.
No.
And I felt rageful at my husband. I felt rageful at my children. And I just was not coping with life. I honestly thought I was going to have to admit myself somewhere. That is how much I was losing it. And then I stuck this patch on, and within a couple of days, I feel better now. Yeah, I just felt like myself.
You were yourself
totally
again.
Balanced me very quickly.
Yeah.
So if you are in that process, and there are a lot of places for support, like free forums that I actually found very helpful, which we can put in the show notes.
Yeah.
So that's where I was at. So I was coming into this I was a veteran at this.
Very much.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And you were coming in fresh, which is really great, I think.
Yeah. I was coming in blind to myself, not to the whole experience, because I've watched you at close quarters do it.
Yeah.
But with no experience of doing it myself.
Yeah.
So we went and had the bloods together. I was a real baby about it.
You were.
I was.
You were.
But you know what? The phlebotomist who took my blood, she was so quick. She was so good. It really didn't hurt. She was fine. And I said to her afterwards, "You are so good at your job. Didn't even hurt. It was totally fine."
Yeah.
And they took a fair amount because they were testing for a lot of stuff.
They were testing for everything.
Yeah.
They were testing for
They
everything.
were.
So I met you in One Welbeck.
Yes.
Can I just say,
Yeah.
right, not that this is hugely important.
Yeah.
But I do want to add this. The building
Stunning.
is stunning. It's like a 5-star hotel.
Yes, it's exactly like that. They have fresh fruit and they have like bean to cup coffee and really nice biscuits, of which I partook in. All of those things.
And they have ice cold water.
Yeah.
And, like all of it. The toilets, there's toilets on every
It's
floor.
so nice.
Like it's so comfortable.
Yeah.
And so you walk in and you feel like you are really somewhere very special.
And being looked after properly. Like,
yes.
It's nice.
Yes,
Yeah,
you really
it's very,
do.
very nice.
So that day, we both had the DEXA scan that day, didn't we?
Yes. So I've never had a DEXA scan before, have you?
No.
It's basically like an X-ray, and what they do is you get into a gown and you lie down on a table and they put a sort of X-ray machine above on me it was my left hip.
Yeah, same.
And then they take an X-ray. It took about 3 minutes. Obviously, it's completely painless because it's a X-ray machine type thing. And then you wait for the results. So that's a DEXA scan.
Did I have a mammogram that day? I did.
You did, yes.
So then I went in. So that was on the Friday, wasn't it?
Yes.
And then I went from there and I saw Johanna. And
Yes.
if you remember Johanna, she came on last year.
And she did my mammogram.
She did your mammogram and she came on the show
Yes.
to talk about the importance of getting regular mammograms.
Yes.
So she was amazing. And if you haven't listened to that show, what was it called, that show?
I think it was called Check Your Boobs.
I think it was called Check Your Boobs. So she was amazing. And so I was delighted when she walked around the corner and she was doing my mammogram for me. That was amazing.
Yeah.
So that was on the Friday.
Yes.
And then the following Saturday, we were seeing Dr.
Yes.
Elaine Palmer for our consultations and to find out about our full bloods and all the results of the DEXA scan and everything.
Yes.
Weren't we?
Yes.
That's what we did.
Do you want to go first?
Yes.
Should we cut to a break?
Yes.
Okay.
Oh, such a clutch off-season pickup, Dave.
I was worried we'd bring back the same team.
I meant those blackout motorized shades.
Blinds.com made it crazy affordable to replace our old blinds.
Hard to install?
No, it's easy. I installed these and then got some for my mom. She talked to a design consultant for free and scheduled a professional measure and install.
Hall of Fame son.
They're the #1 online retailer of custom window coverings in the world.
Blinds.com is the GOAT.
Shop Blinds.com's primetime kickoff event. Save up to 50% off select styles, plus doorbusters. Rules and restrictions may apply.
You're a podcast listener, and this is a podcast ad. Reach great listeners like yourself with podcast advertising from Lips and Ads. Choose from hundreds of top podcasts offering host endorsements, or run a reproduced ad like this one across thousands of shows to reach your target audience with Lips and Ads. Go to lipsandads.com now. That's LIBSYN ads.com.
Okay, so I got a call first thing Monday morning from One Welbeck, and I was being asked to be called back for they needed to take more images from my mammogram.
Yeah.
So I have had a mammogram before, and the same thing happened before. And when it happened to me, I think I've talked about this on the show, I was absolutely terrified, obviously, because I didn't know why I was being called back. Anyway, when they called me to say, you need to come back for more imaging, it's nothing to worry about at this stage. And I said to her, look, it happened to me last time. Is this why? And she said, yes, probably. So she said, but don't worry at this stage. I said, okay, fine. So I went back that Friday. I wasn't particularly worried about it. Adam was a bit worried. And it didn't really, I wasn't thinking about it. It just went to the back of my mind. When I walked in on the Friday, you go up to the 6th floor. That's where the breast imaging centre is. And as the doors opened on the 6th floor, Johanna, lovely Johanna, she's got the best smile in the whole wide world. She was there to meet me. And she was like, how are you? And are you okay? And she sort of took my arm and she gave me a hug. And she was so sweet and so lovely that it actually really freaked me out.
He's like, why is the doctor being so nice to me? Is she about to tell me something terrible?
Yeah, because she's the one that did my mammogram.
Yeah.
And she's like, I'm going to lead you in. And I saw a breast consultant.
Yeah.
She said, she's very nice. And she sort of talked me through what was going to happen. And I started to feel quite panicked.
Yeah.
She was so lovely.
Yeah.
Anyway, so I then went in to the breast consultant and she said, you have very dense breast tissue. We can't see through it. This is exactly the same thing happened last time. We just need to do an ultrasound. They are dotting the I's and crossing the T's.
Yes.
I did sit there for a moment when I was waiting for the ultrasound and I thought, is this the moment?
Oh, don't.
Well, of course you do.
That.
I mean, I'd been fine all week, but it was
Yeah.
like, is this the moment? And Johanna kept smiling at me and rubbing my arm and, she was just so sweet. And I just thought, oh my God, is this the moment my whole life changes? Anyway, it wasn't the moment.
No.
Clubbers. I have two very healthy breasts. I'm very, very delighted to be able to tell you that. And what I learnt from that is the breast consultant. I saw the breast consultant after, and it's very swift and it's very slick. And I felt very held and carried throughout the whole process. Mm-hmm. And when I went back into her, the whole thing took an hour. And she said to me, please, next time you come in for a mammogram, please book an ultrasound in at the same time so that we don't have to call you back. You'd say that you've got dense breast tissue and that you don't have to have the panic again.
Yeah. And just to say, it's completely randomized, but some women have denser breasts than others. So when I had my mammogram, I didn't need the ultrasound because I don't have dense breast tissue. But when you do start HRT, it can make your breast tissue more dense.
Yes.
So that may have added to a reason why you also needed to have that done. So it's
absolutely.
And they did explain to me at the time, like, there's no good or bad or right or wrong. Some women have dense breasts and some women don't, and it's just all how you're built. Yeah.
So that was fine.
Yeah.
And then Saturday morning, I had a 9 a.m. with Dr. Elaine Palmer.
Yes.
And I have to say, I think she is, and I've seen a few gynecologists now, I think she is the loveliest gynecologist I have ever met.
Me too.
I think she is warm, she is caring, she is friendly, she is
empathetic,
kind. She's compassionate, she gives you time, patience.
Yeah. She's wonderful.
My last gynecologist that I've been seeing that put me on the patch, he was great and he actually delivered my babies, so I know him quite well. But, she's just got the most wonderful bedside manner. And the gynecologist I saw before that was the absolute polar opposite. She was rushed. She was hectic. She was short and brisk. And she did not have any time for me.
Yeah.
And I felt very gaslit leaving her office. I cannot tell you what a pleasure of an experience it was to see Dr. Elaine Palmer.
Agree, 100,000%.
And she's very chatty and you feel very comfortable to ask her anything.
Yeah.
She makes you very, feel very safe.
Yeah.
And I think when you're dealing with gynecological stuff, that's how a woman needs to feel.
Totally. But also I felt very seen as an entire human being rather than stats on a page, rather than a person, just test results on a computer.
Yeah.
I think it's really important.
It really is. And I have got the experience now to know a good gynecologist from a bad one.
Yeah.
Yeah. So if you don't like your gynecologist,
yeah,
I could not, and you are London based, or even if you're nearish London, I could not recommend her enough.
Yeah.
Although I think she's on maternity leave now.
I think she is, but she'll be back.
Yeah. She'll definitely be back. So we had a lovely chat.
Yeah.
Everything was great.
Mm-hmm.
She was very thorough. She talked through absolutely everything, every blood test I have, every result I had. She just talked through the whole, I'm not going to go through it because it's boring for anybody else. But needless to say, she just said, in a nutshell, whatever you are doing, keep doing it. And I came out of that office so tickled pink with myself. I can't tell you.
That is good. That is lovely.
So all in all, the whole experience from the blood test to the mammogram to the DEXA scan to Dr. Elaine Palmer to the breast surgeon, I really did do the whole rounds of this whole clinic.
Yeah.
And I have to say, it was an absolute privilege to be in this space and to be held and looked after by all of these doctors.
Do you feel like since then you need to or have to make any changes to what you're doing?
So what she said was, I'm still very early in my perimenopause journey. So your hormones are going to fluctuate.
Yeah.
So I'm on a 75 milligram patch now. She didn't change any of my hormones because I feel good on it. She said, but it will change. So when you need to, we'll whack you up to the 100. I was like, oh, good, can't wait. She said, and it will need to be changed. So just know, I know what my signs are. I get anxious and I get my headaches. So they're the two things to know when my HRT is off. They're my two first warning signs. Once that starts to change, I'll just go for another appointment.
Yeah.
I know what to do now.
Yeah.
And I feel empowered to know what to do it.
Which is everything you could want.
So if you are, I just want anyone who's listening to this, if you are struggling and you are in your menopause journey, wherever you are, and you don't feel like yourself, there is help to be had. And if you can't have HRT for whatever reason, there is still help to be had. There are still ways around it.
Yeah.
And there is support. So please go and get it.
Yeah. Yeah.
You don't need to suffer through.
No, nobody does.
And no one's going to give you a medal.
No.
You know?
No.
So that was my experience with One Welbeck.
Love it.
Come on.
So a couple of things came up that I was actually quite surprised about. I have borderline thyroid that needs retesting. It's an easy fix. You just take some thyroxine. So I just need to look at that. My DEXA scan showed that I have a bit of osteopenia in my hip. But my mum has that, so it was kind of to be expected. But my back and spine is fine, which is very good news.
Did she tell you that you might need to exercise and hydrate?
Not hydrate, but the hydration did not come into it.
I should have paid her.
But she did say with osteopenia, which is very, very common, it is the stage before osteoporosis. So it means that your bones are slightly weaker, but not weak enough to have osteoporosis. It is very helpful to build the muscle around the bone where it is weaker, so that you remain strong and you don't fall and break something.
You don't want to be a frail older lady.
I do not.
So let me tell you, clubbers, she went to Pilates on Friday with my sister.
Absolutely. Your sister's an amazing Pilates teacher.
She really is.
I mean, I may have to do other stuff. I just
like what?
Lift stuff. I don't want to talk about it, Nicole. Don't want to talk about the fact that I now medically might have to lift stuff and exercise because that's not filling me with
Can
glee.
I just tell you something though? Lifting stuff right, is actually so much fun.
I know.
It's the best part of exercising, the lifting stuff. I can't even tell you how much pleasure and joy it gives me. Okay. I know you know.
Yeah.
But I promise you, I don't even get sweaty.
Yeah, I don't enjoy the sweat
No,
part.
but I don't get sweaty anymore. I don't do any of that.
Yeah.
I don't even particularly get out of breath.
Okay.
I just lift. And I cannot tell you the stress reliever and how good I feel after and how much it tones your body and molds your body. Like there is not one downside to this. You could get to hang out with me.
What more?
Lewis Capaldi.
You, me and Lewis.
Because he's at my gym.
Yeah.
I haven't seen him for a while.
I have to address that. I'm not delighted. I'm not menopausal, my test showed, but my hormones are low-ish. And she said, and I quote, "If I just looked at you on a piece of paper and hadn't met you in person, I would assume your life was in the toilet and you struggled to get out of bed in the morning." But that is not the case. I said, no, it's not the case. I actually feel good. And she said, there are women whose hormones fluctuate madly through perimenopause.
Hi.
Yeah. So they will have big highs, big lows.
Hi. I'm the problem. It's me.
And therefore they will feel a lot of the mental health brainy side of the perimenopause symptoms.
It's me. Hi. I'm the problem. It's me. Yeah, totally.
But she said, looking at my results, she said she strongly suspects I will be someone who will have absolute classic your night sweat and
but you said this before you'd seen her.
I know,
we both said I'm going to get all the anxiety stuff, which I do, and you'll get the absolute classic, your periods will just slow down, you'll get the night sweats, like the classic
she said
symptoms.
You'll probably get some dry skin, night sweats, whatever. She said I don't think you're very steady. It's funny, isn't it, how you are in life, you are in perimenopause.
Yeah, how you do anything is how you do everything. Hi James.
We're just talking about our perimenopause.
How's yours?
Weigh in with my useful information.
Well, this is one show where we don't need your input quite yet.
So rude.
I know. What was important to me about this consultation, and I think the thing I wanted to talk about, was that the fact that she could see my hormones are definitely depleting, but I'm feeling good and my symptoms are not at a stage where it is, apart from the frozen shoulder, where it is affecting my life or I'm struggling in any areas of my life. She said to me, I just get the feeling you're not ready for HRT yet. And she said, listen, I could, because of the osteopenia and these hormone levels, she said, I could say to you, you've got to take it. She said, but my general feeling looking at you and listening to you and, knowing about you as a whole person is you're not ready for this stage yet. She said, so actually, I don't think you should start. She said, I think you should start taking some supplements, some complementary stuff.
Which you do.
Which I do. But she advised me to take some different stuff, some different supplements to change it up. And she said, I think you're going to get to a stage in a couple of years where you might start to see some very obvious symptoms and that will be the time to start. She said, but the important bit is you have to do what feels right for you. You have to go with how you're feeling as a person.
I love all of that. And I agree with all of that. And I agree you're not ready to do it, but you're only ready when your symptoms tell you that you need to.
Yes.
Which your symptoms aren't right now. I mean, you do have you're a little bit brain foggy at times.
Occasionally, and I've actually.
But when you take your ashwagandha and things like that, you're
sparks
on
me
it,
up.
so you're good like that.
And Ollie's definitely noticed, and I've noticed my fuse is a bit shorter. My tolerance is less, and that, of course, could be partly perimenopause. It could also just be being 46 and no, I don't take shit anymore.
And you forget the odd thing which you never used to do, but it's fine.
Yeah,
I think it's fine, and I think I agree with what she's saying, and I think that's a really good diagnosis and a good place to start. The one thing I do want to say to you is, whatever does happen, because you always have to be fine, and we've got this long-standing joke that I'm fine. When you're not, acknowledge when you're not.
Totally, and
just stick the bloody patch on or stick the gel on.
Totally, but what I've learned is you're not adding something. It's not a drug that you're taking. It's just replacing.
Yes.
Hence why it's called hormone replacement therapy, which again is an outdated term.
Yes.
It is an outdated term and it should be called something else. But
it is hormone replacement therapy. It's exactly what it is.
All you're doing is just putting back in
what you've lost.
So it's not an additive. It's not something scary or new. You've always had estrogen and progesterone, but you go to a stage where you have less of it. So I have absolutely no issue with when I feel I need that boosting, I will take it.
Can we just what you've just said is so important. Because so many women have said to me, I don't want to stick drugs in my body.
Yes.
You're not sticking drugs in your body.
You already have
You're
this
sticking
stuff.
a hormone in your body that you're completely depleted in. That's all you're doing.
Yeah.
So this, I don't want to stick drugs in my body, or I don't know, or will it make me put on weight, or will it, I don't know what it's going to do to me, or will it all it's going to do is make you feel better. That is what it's for. If it doesn't make you feel better, you stop taking it.
Or you take a different dose.
Or you take it.
Yeah.
There's so many ways of tweaking it.
Yeah.
And if it isn't making you feel better, then it isn't right. It's as simple as that.
But what Elaine said was, she said, look, I can just tell you're someone who needs, is very pragmatic, is very stoic, is very resilient. She said, what I would most likely do is give you the pill, because you have absolutely no reason to not take an HRT pill. There's no reason why you shouldn't. She said the same
to me as well.
And she said, you'll swallow it like any supplement in the morning. You'll feel better. Job done. End of story. And, I just felt very reassured that when the time comes, because it will, it's not avoidable for me. If I feel I need something, I will take it. I might be someone who doesn't have huge symptoms and I don't need to take it. And that's also fine. But I have no fear of admitting that I might need to at some point. And that's okay.
You shouldn't. You absolutely should not.
So it was...
And I don't want any woman to.
No.
Because you don't need to suffer through this. If I didn't take any, if I was one of those women, I don't want to put drugs in my body, I would have, honestly, my whole life would be blown up. I wouldn't be able to work. I don't think Adam would have been putting up with me because I was horrible. Mm-hmm. I was horrible to I couldn't get out of bed.
You weren't coping, really. You just weren't coping.
I was not coping.
Yeah.
So for me, it's like...
It's really safe. It's really safe
life-changing.
But I do know a couple of women who I'm very close to who are older than me. They're in their early 50s who chose not to take HRT, and they had a couple of classic symptoms but nothing that was really affecting them, and now they're through the other side and they're fine, and that was the right choice for them. So I think it has to be what's right for you.
Yes, it does. It absolutely does. And the information is changing, and I really do believe, and I've said this before on the show as well, we are the first generation of women to get the correct information at our fingertips.
Yes.
It's everywhere now.
Yes.
We are so lucky. If it wasn't for the Davinas doing what they're doing and Dame Leslie Regan doing what she's doing, I wouldn't be on the HRT because I would also have the bad information.
Well, you'd be on an antidepressant that your doctor would have put you on that wouldn't be helping.
By the way.
Yeah.
So I'd be a wreck.
Yeah.
So I am so grateful for these menopause warriors that are doing the work and getting this vital information out there to women, because I am one of those women. So thank you to everybody that is, and that's why we're doing this menopause mini-series.
Yeah.
I said to you, didn't I, a few months ago, I said to you, I think I want to start a menopause podcast because it has changed my life. And the information has been so mind-boggling to me, and the bad advice that I got from the medical professionals has been so mind-boggling to me. That one gynecologist who just gaslit the shit out of me. Like, she is a modern gynecologist that sees a lot of my peers.
And she was a woman, and
she should
have understood.
Well, she should have taken 5 minutes just to listen to what I was saying.
Yeah.
I had to turn around to her and say to her, there is not one thing, there's not one part of me that is depressed. I'm just struggling, and I don't know why, because I didn't at that point. And she just literally flippantly just removed me from her office. Anyway, luckily, I went to see my private doctor. I can do that. I know I'm very, very grateful and in a privileged position that I can. And she very much helped me and put me on the right track again. What was my point? Oh, so then I said I wanted to do a menopause podcast because it just wasn't enough. It's out there, but it's not enough of it. Someone said to me, oh, it's too much. It's never too much, because there's still, and as Davina McCall said at that talk we went to, there's still so many women that still don't know. They still don't know. There's still so many women that say to me, I'm not putting that in my body, or no, I can't do that because I've got a history of this and history. There's still so much that women don't know.
So we are going to do a whole episode with Professor Dame Leslie Regan about HRT and options and things like that to really get the info from the doctor. But I guess from this show, I think we just want to share that there are so many symptoms that you may be experiencing that you might not have put down to the perimenopause, when in fact it may be that you can go and get bloods and tests, or you don't even need to do that if you're over 45. You can just go and tell your NHS GP your symptoms, and you can get help if you feel you need it.
Absolutely. And please don't suffer. And you'll hear much more from that next week with the doctors that are coming on next week.
Yes.
Dr. Elaine Palmer being one of them.
Yes.
Don't suffer. You don't need to.
Yeah.
We'll be back on Friday with our weekly Wellness Roundup show. If you want to be in touch, hello@theselfcareclub.co.uk or come find us on our socials @selfcareclubpod.
See you on Friday.